Okay, friends, let's settle in. So as we arrive to our physical spot, let's gently close our eyes or soften our gaze and arrive to this emotional and mental spot as well. Just letting all the distractions go. Maybe you still notice the sounds of the house, you notice the physical feelings in your body. But see if as you notice those things, you can then go back and then notice your breath. See if it can help usher you from the distractions to the present moment. From the senses to the sense of just being. From the scattered thoughts and the busy mind to the stillness. So just notice that breath, just the in-breath, the out-breath, that beautiful moment right in between the two as they turn from one to the other. And as you're beginning to settle in with that breath, I encourage you, affirm yourself for the showing up. Affirm yourself for the consistency of your practice, whatever consistency looks like for you. Just affirm yourself. We easily come with criticisms and frustrations of ourselves when things don't go the way we expect. Let's be as intentional about affirming ourselves. And eventually, maybe that habit of mind will be stronger than the criticism and the judgment. So as we've all arrived here together, let's just find a few breaths just to unite us across these electronic waves, just to feel the community, that there are other people who are also showing up, who also are seeking this awareness of this present moment, who also want to live mindfully and with intention. So just take a slow, deep breath in. And then together, let's just exhale, let it go. Breathing in together. And breathing out. Just one more to settle us in together. Breathing in. And breathing out. And we are coming to the end of this journey through the teachings of karma yoga. We've looked at it from so many different angles, this yoga of right action, this yoga of how we show up in the world, this yoga of our contribution, our effort in lessening the suffering of others, of just bringing peace and well-being to those that we interact with. It looks really different than the yoga that we do on the mat or the yoga that we do on the cushion. It's the yoga of action, of the doing. And so today I want to sit with this idea of doing just a tiny bit longer, because I know that myself, I am guilty of this, and I have been in the past, and I wonder if maybe I'm not alone. But sometimes we get into this act of doing and our intentions are so good. And our heart is so pure. And then we don't realize that perhaps we're causing harm around us. Inadvertently, maybe we're causing frustration to the people in our life because we get so focused on our thing that we don't realize that we have to take in the whole humanity. When we think about karma yoga, it's not just Kelly acts in the way that Kelly thinks is right and does her thing. No, Kelly has to realize that I am part of this great big humanity. And this vibration of how I act and how I show up, it's felt by others. So how do we ensure that our karmic path, this thing that we think we're supposed to be doing, this thing that we feel so passionate about, so intentional about, how do we ensure that it is the right action and that it's not causing harm? It's not getting in the way of other people having peace. And so as I sat with that question, I went back to the idea of purpose, back to the Sanskrit word of Dharma, because all the great teachings tell us that our karma, our action, needs to be in line with and directed toward our purpose. And we know that our big purpose as part of humanity is to lessen the suffering of those around us and make a contribution that increases the peace. But we all have these other individual dharmas, these other individual purposes that have to do with our heart's desire and our passion and our gifts that we've all been given. So how do we ensure that as each of us are moving through life, we're doing it in a way that is conscious and mindful and truly does contribute to the well-being of all? I truly believe it's the focus on the purpose. It's the focus on the Dharma. And then we'll find that as we focus there, the actions that don't align, we just don't do them. I've asked many times these sacred soul questions about who am I and what do I want and what is my purpose. We don't just ask these questions just because they're good questions to ask. We ask because we need to keep coming back to that. Checking in with who are we? What do we want in this life, in this world? And are we sitting and being quiet and really starting to understand our purpose? And as I was sitting with this idea, this story that I've told before in other contexts came to mind, and I thought this is a beautiful representation of how when we get off track, destruction can come. But when we stay focused, and the focus is our purpose, our Dharma, the world is as it needs to be. And so I'd like for you just to go on this visualization with me for these few minutes. And picture an elephant. There's lots of stories, lots of metaphors that we use with elephants. They're such great teachers. But I would ask you just to picture the largest, most just massive creature that you can imagine. And there's this village. The elephant is sacred to this village. She's important. She's lived many, many years. She has a caretaker who takes care of her and tends to her and keeps her healthy. And every year, this small village has this beautiful celebration. It's their custom. Every vendor in the community comes with his things that he wants to celebrate and share with his neighbors. You can smell the baked goods, you can smell the spices, you can see the fresh fruits and the fresh fish and the handmade crafts. And each family is coming with just these things that's their special contribution to this community being able to sustain itself. And so just imagine you've got this beautiful parade route, and up and down are all of these little booths with these precious humans who have worked so hard the whole year to do things that can sustain the welfare of their community. And everyone is so happy. They love being able to contribute, and they're there to celebrate on this beautiful day. And then this caretaker of the elephant, he participates as well. And this elephant is so important to the community. It's so important to the Indian culture. And his contribution to the day is the elephant marches along the parade route. She's decorated. She has beautiful colors and jewels and fabrics hanging from her. She's part of the day. And so as he walks beside her, just picture it, this big, massive, lumbering creature. But as she walks, she also sees the flowers and the fresh food and the fruit and the handcrafts and the music and the noise. And she gets really overwhelmed and really distracted. And all of a sudden, this big, giant creature can't figure out where to look. She looks here and her trunk swings and things begin to crash. And she looks to the other side at this distraction and more things begin to crash until eventually she's just made it through this parade route. And as you look behind her, there's destruction. It wasn't her intention, but there were so many distractions, she didn't know where to look. And the distractions actually caused harm. And so everyone in this sweet village is just so disappointed. Hearts are broken, but no one's heart is more broken than the caretaker. What was meant to be a day of celebration is now a day of sorrow. And he feels guilty. And so he marches her back to the place where they live, and he doesn't show his face in the community for a long time. And eventually everyone pulls it together and life goes back to normal. And then as the calendar begins to roll around again, the community remembers it's time to celebrate. It's time to come together and show all the things that we do to contribute to this small world of ours. We share our gifts. We share our crops and our harvest. We celebrate this beautiful world that we get to be a part of. And they get a message that the caretaker says that he won't be participating this year. And they're sad. They're disappointed. And they ask him to please reconsider. And so he sits with it and he thinks, how can I serve my purpose with my community and not let it be destructive? How can it really be with intention? And so he sits with it and he meditates on it, and all of a sudden this beautiful idea comes across his mind's eye. And he goes over to the pond near his home and he plucks out a lotus flower. And he takes it over to that big giant elephant and he hands it to her, and she wraps it in her trunk, holding on to it. And they begin to make their way to the parade. She's still big and massive and lumbering. And the music is still loud, and the fruits are still fragrant, and the flowers are still vibrant and beautiful. But that elephant, she knows that her purpose is to keep her eyes on that lotus flower. And she walks along the parade route. And it's a beautiful day of community, of giving, of celebration. Same elephant, same intention, different focus. And again, I've shared that story in so many different contexts, but I thought today, that's karma yoga. Her lotus flower is like our Dharma, our purpose, our contribution to the world. We hold it in our heart, we plant it in our mind's eye, and all the distractions around us begin to lose their power over us. They begin to lose their influence. And what we find is that we get to show up in the world and contribute in a way that not only honors our contribution, but honors those to whom we are contributing. There's no destruction. There's no harm. There's just me living out my purpose, my Dharma, and you living out yours. And so what I would encourage us to do is I want us to sit for the next few minutes and just be still and quiet. And for the elephant, it was that lotus flower that kept her focused, contributing in a beautiful and healthy way. But what is it for you? What is the thing that allows you to stay so focused on whatever your Dharma, your purpose is? Or if you're not still quite sure, maybe what is the thing that helps keep you focused on the waiting and the being still and the listening for it to be revealed. Because if we don't have a focus and we don't have a plan, the world that we live in is filled with distractions. The fragrances, the colors, the sounds, the taste, all the things that in and of themselves are neutral. But when they steer us off our path, it causes harm. And so I'd invite us just to sit and just in the quiet. Maybe if it feels right, you put your hand on your heart, or you bring your hands to prayer, or just whatever feels right for you and your physical body. Just sit with your purpose. Let it be your focus. And again, if you're still not quite sure what that is for you, and it's not your job, and it's not your employment, it's not your role in the family, it's something different. It's unique to you. If you're still not sure, maybe you go back to those soul questions of who am I? What do I want in this world? What's my purpose? And maybe instead of focusing on seeing it, if you're still a bit unsure, maybe you focus on just asking the questions again and again. What do I want? What's my heart's desire? What's my purpose? If you do know your purpose, you do know what your Dharma is in this world, see that as clearly as that elephant saw the lotus flower. And as you sit with it here, let's practice letting the distractions go. Let's practice showing up in the world the most vibrant, focused version of ourselves, contributing to the welfare of others, removing suffering, and nurturing, cultivating peace everywhere we go. So whichever end of that you kind of fall on, just sit with that. One breath in, one breath out at a time. And as we continue to sit and we continue to breathe and visualize, I'd ask us just to take this last moment or so that we have to see what are your distractions. For the elephant, it was the sounds and the smells and the taste and all the things that she wanted. What's the thing that you know tends to borrow you a little trouble? Tends to get you off track and off course. It could be a relationship, it could be a habit, it could be a past trauma that you just can't turn loose of. But as you ask yourself, what's my distraction? What I'd ask us to do is, in the practice of what Thich Nhat Hahn always taught, is you sit with it. You invite it in like a friend sitting right next to you and just say, you know what, distraction, I see you. I see you. Sit right here. Because if I see you and I own it, you'll have far less of a chance of distracting me the next time. And so I would just ask each of us, just see the thing that tends to pull you off course, the relationship, the habit, the thoughts, the whatever. See it. And almost in your mind, do what Thich Nhat Hahn said, is invite it to come sit right there next to you. Tell it that you see it. And then just sit with it for these last few breaths. Breathing in. I believe that I have a purpose in this world. Breathing out. I want to let go of the things that get in the way of that purpose. Breathing in. I know I have a purpose in this world. Breathing out. I understand there are distractions and I'm willing to let them go. Breathing in purpose. Breathing out distractions. This practice really will help us to live out the tenets of karma yoga that we've sat with and we've journeyed through for so many days. But it asks that we sit with our purpose. That first we discover it, and then we own it, and then we set it right there in the center of our heart as our intention to keep us on course. Breathing in purpose. Breathing out the distractions. Namaste.